Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Selling Greenville, your favorite real estate podcast here in Greenville, South Carolina. I'm your host, as always, Stan McCune, realtor right here in Greenville. You can find all of my contact information in the show notes if you need to reach out to me for any of your real estate needs. And just a reminder, as always, please like, rate, review, subscribe, comment, any of those things with regard to the show. Listen, if you're in Apple or Spotify, you can just hit the review button or the rating button right now. In Apple, you have to scroll down a little bit. In Spotify, it's a little bit different. It doesn't take very long. YouTube, just hit the little thumbs up button. Please do that. Today, I'm going to be giving away a $250 Amazon gift card to one lucky winner, but that's not going to happen until some point in the middle of the episode. And here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to let you guys know right now, because I did this one other time and the person didn't respond. And I have a strict rule, and that is if you don't respond, then that tells me that you're not listening or watching the show. You're not going to win the gift card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically announce 3 winners, but only one of them is going to be the real winner. And basically at the end of this week, and I'll give it until let's see here. I'll give it until Friday of this week to see how many people are kind of on the ball, right? How many people are actually paying attention. If you listen to the show will come out on Wednesday. That gives you Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to respond. Oh, look, I got a little thumbs up. If you're watching on YouTube, you saw a little thumbs up there. I didn't mean to do that. But that gives you a few days to listen to it. And whoever is first in line, if they respond between by Friday, hold on, let me get you guys an actual date here so I know what I'm talking about. By Friday the 17th, okay? Anytime before midnight strikes into Saturday, if the first person responds to confirm that they watched it, that they want to collect their $250 Amazon gift card, that person will get it. If they don't, but the second person in line responds, then that person will get it. If neither of them respond, but the third person in line responds by 11:59 on Friday the 17th, that person will get it. All right? So I'm going to be drawing 3 people, but they will be in order. And again, that's going to come in the middle of the episode. Someone's going to win a $250 Amazon gift card today. Well, or whenever they respond. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. Just because I announce your name on here doesn't mean that you get it. You still have to confirm that you listen to the show, and then you'll get it. All right. Today we're going to take a little bit of a different, not a very analytical type of episode, not an interview, nothing super dense. We're just going to be talking about design styles. And if you know anything about real estate, you know the design styles come and go. There's all sorts of different things that people do with homes. And of course, there are some major players out there that ultimately control what designs are popular, whether exterior designs, interior designs, elevation designs with homes, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to be talking just generally speaking. Here's where I see things going with regard to various designs, mostly interior related, when it comes to homes. I'm going to talk to you guys about, I believe I've got 10 things that are out, that were popular the past few years, and 10 things that are in. Now, here's the thing. Some of these are going to be really, really obvious to you guys, right? Some of these you're going to hear and you're going to be like, yeah, I already knew that. Great. You're on top of things. Other things that you hear, you're probably going to be like, no, I think that's still in. Okay. I'm just telling you from my experience, and I'm looking at it from the standpoint of me working with buyers, what buyers want, me working with builders, what are builders doing, and by the way, what builders do is very important, because what they do kind of sets the trend for a lot of others, but also they are receiving all of this input from people all over the country, if it's a national builder, and then they can use that input to then determine what they do next, right? And so what the big box builders are doing can be a pretty good indication of what people want. And then also just the general design trends, like if you go to like, for instance, Magnolia it's a really big Joanna Gaines company. That's a really big influencer when it comes to design in real estate in general. What are they doing? So I'm not just making stuff up, right? I'm not just coming up with here are the things that I like. I'm using several different anecdotal data points that I just observe in my everyday doing this job to determine what's in and what's out. So here we go. I'm going to give you guys, again, I believe I've got 10 of these. We're going to do an out and then we're going to do an in. Starting with pallet walls. Pallet walls are out. Pallet walls, they had their time in the spotlight. People don't want pallet walls anymore. That I can't really tell you why. And honestly, I can't really tell you why about just about any of these. But just know if you want to do a pallet wall in your house, absolutely do it. Remember, not everything that's out doesn't mean that it. Don't feel bad if it's in for you, right? That's not what I'm saying here. But in terms of reselling a home, okay, if you are planning to resell your home anytime soon, don't put that pallet wall in. Just don't. It's not palatable, okay? If you guys like a good dad joke there. That's not something that people are getting really excited about. You know what people are getting excited about? Somewhat, is wallpaper. Wallpaper is in. This is one that I would not have anticipated this just a few years ago. And specifically wallpaper on accent walls for the most part. But I have seen it done in entire rooms. It's very, very popular right now to do in bathrooms, interestingly. And if it's done well, and if it's done with colors and patterns that are in right now, people get really, really excited about wallpaper. And this is the thing, is that wallpaper for the longest time was I don't know, big wallpaper, the wallpaper industry. They were kind of behind on colors, behind with the times. Now it's become a whole thing where now they are getting in on the crest of the wave when it comes to colors and patterns and designs that people want in general, but that obviously are way too challenging to paint. And you know, if you're planning to do an accent wall or whatever, rather than having to do tile or like a palette wall or something like that, wallpaper can give you a lot more visual interest, perhaps at a much cheaper price. Now, it's not the easiest thing to install. Some people try to DIY wallpaper. I never recommend that. But some people are quite good at DIYing it. Obviously, it's much easier than doing, for instance, tile. Not as easy as a palette wall, in my opinion, but palette walls are out. Number two that is out is the color grage. Now, that's not to say that I don't still see grage being painted in a lot of places. And just because I say something's out doesn't mean I'm not seeing people do it. But you're not hearing anyone that's excited about grage right now. Like, that is just the reality of the situation. People are just kind of like, okay. You know, they've seen so many homes with grage in them that they're just kind of graged out. And so for me, you know, if you guys have followed me for a while, you know that something I do on the side is I flip houses. I haven't done a lot of that this year because the market has not been great for flipping houses. But that is something that I do from time to time. And I stopped using, I was using Agreeable Gray by Sherwin-Williams for years. That was my color of choice for my homes. I stopped doing that last year because I saw the writing on the wall. People don't want that color anymore. Well, you know what they do want? They want white. White is back and better than ever. Obviously, we all know that, you know, way back in the day, everything was white. White, white, white. And then eventually it flipped to where people would paint every single room a different color, oftentimes very bright colors. I'll still run into this sometimes, where I'll show a house that hasn't been painted since the 90s, and every single room is a different color. You've got a red room, you've got a green room, you've got a blue room, you've got a gold room. But before that, every room just being white. That was the standard. And that has come back. Now, with that, it's important to notate that a lot of people are still going with more creamier kinds of whites. So again, it's not beige or grage, and it's not fully gray either. But in terms of the white color, it's a little bit softer. It's not a harsh white like we saw more so in the 80s and 90s. More of a slightly creamy kind of white. Ideally, most people don't like the ones that have those really harsh yellowy tints in them. And so ideally white that has a little coolness to it, maybe a little blue in it, maybe maybe even a little bit of gray in it, just to soften up the harsh whiteness of it. And in a similar vein to this, number three that is out is the contrast of having a white ceiling with different colored walls. That's actually out right now. And what's in is walls and ceiling being the same color. Now, this one I really have to be careful about because it is kind of one of those things where it's 50-50, right? When I see a home, a new build or a home that's been remodeled, 50% of the time I'll see the ceiling and the walls are the same color. Other 50% of the time, they're a different color. But increasingly, I'm seeing a shift to where I'm hearing people that like when they're all the same color. And then what you have is you've got, the crown molding or the cove molding or whatever kind of molding that you have is then that really bright white that just pops, right? It just really stands out from the single tone of the ceiling and the walls. And so that is a technique that a lot of people are using right now, especially if there is nice molding in the house. If the house lacks molding, you're still seeing a lot of times that the ceiling will accent the wall color, right? And the ceiling will be white. In some instances, you'll see a darker ceiling even. I've seen instances of that. Just kind of depends on the room and what the space is being used for. I mean, I have a small little movie theater at my house in my basement, and we obviously you do a movie theater, you do very dark colors throughout, and we did the ceiling one color versus the wall color being another color. So I'm not saying again that this is across the board, but we are seeing this a lot. Number four that's out, barn doors. Now, barn doors, again, you will still see, generally speaking, house flippers doing this. Really, builders never got very much on board with this. But in general, it was one of those things where I think, people really like right now pocket doors. And I could have put pocket doors as something that's in, but I just don't think that the movement for pocket doors is strong enough. They're very it's not a very cost-effective door to install, right? Barn doors are basically taking the pocket door concept and just making it substantially cheaper and making it like a focal point of the room. The problem is that they're not super practical on multiple different levels. Like they'll swing a little bit unless you've got a track on the bottom, which nobody wants to put a track on the bottom. So usually it's single hung, and they can swing a little bit. Oftentimes people don't put locks on them, so then a lot of barn doors lead to like a bathroom. You don't have a lock on it. That makes some people uncomfortable. And then again, if you've got a house that doesn't have any other farmhouse type of features, but then just has this big old barn door in it, it just kind of stands out. So I think that this is an instance of barn doors have been kind of abused, particularly in the Greenville market. And by the way, all of this, even though I am incorporating some national, data from national builders into this podcast, this is, as I always tell you guys, a Greenville podcast. So I'm not This may be different, in Texas, for instance, barn doors might be all the rage right now. I have no idea. But in Greenville, people are just starting to get kind of like, I don't really, I don't really want that barn door. I'd rather just have double doors or whatever the case may be. Now, what is in is, however, in the farmhouse vein, is farmhouse style trim boards. Now, I have a client right now that really doesn't like this, but it is very, very in right now. And basically all it is, instead of the trim around doors and windows being that traditional, I think it's like 2.25 inch trim, that has some, that's kind of beveled, has some character to it. Basically, a lot of homes right now, they're just doing 1x6, 1x4, just plain it, and it's very farmhouse looking, just plain trim. And that's actually an upgrade with some builders right now using the 1x6 or the 1x4 trim to create that farmhouse style trim. That's very, very popular right now because it checks off a few things. It's very streamlined. It gives you very nice squared off looks. So very streamlined. But also, if you're into that farmhouse style, which again in Greenville is pretty popular, the barn door debacle aside, that look is a look that a lot of people like down here, and apparently elsewhere too, because a lot of the national builders are starting to make that an upgrade that you can select when it comes to your home. And I will say the one thing is those trim boards tend to be much bigger, so it does kind of make a door or a window feel larger as opposed to having like a 2.25 inch trim around it. To have 4 inch or 6 inch trim around it, that's a lot more substantial. All right, number 5 that is out. Two-tone cabinets. All right, what I mean by this is you've got the bottom cabinets and the uppers, two different colors, right? You might have maybe the uppers are white and the bottoms are gray, or vice versa, or maybe there's blue in there or something. There's a lot of people that are gonna, well, I'm gonna assume that there's gonna be a lot of people that hear that and that disagree with me on the two-tone cabinet thing. But I'm telling you, I'm in the marketplace with a lot of buyer clients, and nobody wants this. Like nobody is asking for the two-tone cabinets. It's like, why are the uppers a different color than the lowers? Like, why? I didn't ask for that. What people do like, however, still, and this has been in for a while, so this isn't a huge difference, but people like their island to have a different color than the main cabinets, right? So the main cabinets, you've got the uppers and the lowers that are the same color, but then you've got an island, and the island is a different color. Or another thing that you'll see sometimes is that the countertop will be a different type of stone, whether it's granite or quartz. It'll be a different color for the island than it will be for the main cabinet countertops. And maybe even the cabinet color is different as well. So you might have just the island is completely its own thing, right? Might be a blue island with a very bright white kind of countertop, and then maybe the main cabinets are white with more of a gray countertop or something like that. Typically for that island, if you're doing it this way, you would have that countertop be super duper high end, like a really, really nice granite or a really, really nice quartz, with the idea that it's going to pop. It's going to be something that when you walk into the kitchen, you're like, whoa, look at that island. It's adding so much character, so much to love about it. That is something that people do like. The two-tone cabinets, no. That's you're taking, let's say you're flipping a house. You are going to turn off some people by doing the two-tone cabinet. Now, there might be a couple of people out there that love that. They love having the uppers and the lowers two different colors. But for every one person that loves that, there's going to be a few people that are just kind of like, I don't love that. Why did you do that? And if you do it the same color, nobody is going to have a problem with that. Okay? And I will say this, I've never run into someone that didn't like the island being a different color than the main cabinet. So that's something that seems universally like people are just like, yes, we like the island to be a different color than the other cabinets. Again, as long as it's all done with colors that are in and good choices, right? That's kind of a general assumption here for everything. But yeah, don't don't come at me with the two-tone cabinet look. I don't like it. The market doesn't seem to like it. Nobody is asking for it. It is what it is. Cry to your mother. One number six that is out. Dark hardwood floors. I'm talking about like that ebony, like very, very dark, black, almost hardwood floors. Those are out right now, people. That was really popular back 10, 15 years ago. People really like those the super duper dark, sleek. I've even been in some homes where it pains me to say this, where they actually painted like oak hardwoods black, right, in order to get that really dark look. People don't like that. It makes the room feel heavier, makes the room feel smaller. Also, very unforgiving when it comes to dog fur, when it comes to lint, when it comes to anything. I had it at my old house. My floors always looked dirty, always. And even when they weren't, even when we had, I mean, within seconds of having just mopped all the hardwoods in the house, they look dirty again. And it's just hard to make those dark hardwoods look good. And I think that people are just tired of them. What is in on the flip side, however, is the lighter hardwoods or lighter LVP, luxury vinyl plank. More of, oh, I got a sneeze coming on. 1 second. Excuse me. I usually am able to swallow that sneeze when I'm doing the podcast. That one was not going to be swallowed. So I apologize for that. Um, lighter hardwoods, lighter LVP. Really, what a lot of people like is if you've got real hardwoods, just a clear coat, right? Not even a color to it. Just go over it clear and just let it be natural. Also in kind of more a little bit of the honey colored LVP or hardwoods, not too honey, right? Not too yellow. Still want it to be a little bit on the faded side. That's what people are looking for right now. And again, what they're looking for is bright, airy, natural. That's the look, not dark, closed in, unnatural, unforgiving, all of that, which is what those really, really dark hardwood floors cause us. And I'll say this as well. There was a little stretch where like gray flooring, gray hardwoods, gray LVP was in. That is way, way, way out. All right. Nobody wants gray hardwoods or gray LVP right now. You'll still see it sometimes. Um, I don't hear anyone clamoring for that. Stay away from that if you're flipping a house or if you're trying to update your house in order to sell it. If you love gray flooring and you're planning to live in your house for a while, go for it. Install it. Maybe by the time you sell, it'll be back around. Everyone will like it again. Who knows? But in 2025, it's not a choice if you're going to sell the home. Number seven that's out. Busy, colorful, horizontal or not oriented, horizontal, vertical, whatever, tile work. Okay. Back 15-ish years ago, particularly when it comes to like backsplashes, it was really popular to have, the 1 by 1 tiles, and these would come in 1 inch by 1 inch tiles. These would come in by 1 foot by 1 foot sheets, and you would use that as your backsplash in your kitchen, maybe in a bathroom, maybe even for a shower surround. And it was just a very, very busy look, a lot going on. Definitely caught your attention, and definitely is not in 2025. Nobody wants that anymore. That looks really old. And yeah, people are not looking for that. And on the flip side, those that have gone with more streamlined, standard backsplashes and whatnot, subway tile, the horizontal subway tile is, I don't want to say it's completely out, but it is kind of out. Okay. It's still a popular look, but if someone is it's not anyone's first choice. Let me say it that way. It's like it's one of those safe ways of doing it, which again, if I'm flipping a house, I might go ahead and do that if it's not a super high-end house. I might go ahead and just do some horizontal subway tile. It's going to be safe. Nobody's going to complain, but nobody's going to be like, yeah, that's my first choice. I love me some horizontal subway tile. What people do like and what is in is the streamlined monochrome tile work, but generally with some kind of visual interest, right? Not just your plain old subway tiles, maybe tile that has a little bit of shape to it, or maybe a lot of shape to it. In some instances, and oftentimes with non horizontal placement and even so you could have vertical placement, you could have uh drawn a blank, but herringbone I think is the right term, type of design. Those are super duper popular right now. Really adds a lot of interest and also can make a space feel even ceilings feel higher, space feel bigger if you do it right. And also in the middle of tiles is accents, right? That's another part of this. When people were doing that really busy, colorful tile work, they weren't accenting anything. They weren't having any accent parts in there because it was already so busy. You're not going to add busyness to a space that's already busy. Well, if you've got a streamlined type of tile, that leaves you room to be able to have some kind of an accent. So you'll see that oftentimes in showers, there will be, an accent, especially when it comes to the niche, where, your soap hangs and whatnot. But you'll see it in other instances in showers. You'll see it in kitchens. There might be a little accent tile work done right in front of the stove, for instance. Just a lot of different things like that. Those are the things that are in right now. Not that busy, very colorful horizontal tile work as the entire, wall of tile. All right, we are about to go on to number 8. However, we are going to do our giveaway for a $250 Amazon gift card. All right, I'm going to share with you guys a wheel of names. Now, you'll notice I did not put last names on here. That was for privacy purposes. And B, you'll notice that some names are on here more than once. And that's because you had options that I told you guys to get more than one entry. All right. Zillow review was the basic one. You had to get the Zillow review in, but then there were two other ways with reviewing the podcast, with sending me a picture of your home if I had helped you purchase your home, were other ways in order to get other entries. A handful of people did that. Most didn't. Most of you just did the Zillow review, and that is greatly appreciated either way. If you, however, still would like to send me a picture of the home that you purchased, that would be helpful for my own marketing. I can't use the old listing photos. That's against MLS rules. And I could get permission from the listing agent, but that's really annoying. And of course, I always ask you guys to rate the podcast as well. So that would still be appreciated. But for the purposes of this contest, it's too late for that. So we're going to spin 3 times. Winner number 1 has first dibs, and so forth and so on, as I already explained. All right. You guys should be able to see if you're on YouTube. I'm going to hit the spinner. All right. We are spinning, spinning, spinning. Kayla K is winner number 1. All right. Potential winner if Kayla does not respond by Friday the 17th. Potential second winner, Sarah or Brandon L. I wasn't sure which one of them filled it out, but I could tell based on what was said that one of them filled it out. I think it was Sarah based on the way it was worded. I could be wrong. One of y'all. So reach out to me that you have watched or listened to the show in case Kayla doesn't respond to me in time. All right. Third spin. And hopefully one of these three people will respond to me by the 17th. Third spin is Robin G. All right, there you have it. Number one, first place, Kayla. Kayla K. Number two, Sarah L. Number three, Robin G. So all three of you guys, please, all three of you ladies, please let me know. Text me, email me, something in a way that I can find you to let me know that you saw that you won this no later than 11:59 on Friday the 17th. The pressure is on. All right, moving on to the last three things that are out and in. Number 8, out front seating areas. So in the old days, right, back in the 60s, 70s, and whatnot, they would put these formal living rooms in the front of the house, even going back further than that. I think going back into the 50s, they were doing that. Nice formal living room in the front of the house, and then maybe another great room, as you go inside the house. In more modern layouts, they've done something similar where they'll oftentimes kind of have this front room that's used in a variety of different ways, but it kind of like replaced the old formal living room idea. Long story short, nobody really likes that. Like nobody is going to the front of their house and like, you, having this like closed off space and sitting there. I say nobody. Somebody's doing it, right? Somebody's listening to this and they're like, well, I do that. Sorry that if I just imitated you with that mocking voice. But long story short, that's not like nobody is like clamoring for that, right? Nobody comes to me and they're just like, I really have to have a formal living room, like something in the front of the house where I can sit and where I can have a sitting room or whatever. Sometimes people find a house that has that. And they're just like, this works perfectly. I can use this as a homeschool room. I can use this as, I had one client one time that was like, I have a chiropractic practice that I can do over here. I will hear stuff like that. But again, people aren't coming to me like, I specifically want this thing. Okay. What they are coming to me specifically wanting is a closed in office. Oftentimes those spaces can be used in that way with French doors or something of that nature. And I've seen many times over the years, people will close in, especially on the newer homes, right? The older homes that have those really large, formal living rooms, you can't just easily close them off and turn them into an office. Oftentimes with those, people are opening up the walls to combine it with the great room and just make it one very large open living space. However, what people do like, as I just said, if they can have it, is a nice closed-in office, especially since COVID, right? So many people work from home or at least do some semblance of work from home. A lot of people homeschool since COVID, need an office for that, a place to store books, maybe even store the kids. And so I'm seeing that over and over again. The problem is that if you've got a house that has like that formal living room in it, but doesn't already have the French doors, it's just like an open room that you can come in and out of. A lot of buyers, they'll see that and they just have a hard time visualizing like how can I get in here and convert this into a closed off private space? And it's very simple, but it's one of those things that's just like in this market, buyers just like, forget it. I don't want to mess with that. And so you've got to be cognizant of that. If you've got one of those newer homes that has like that space in the front, that could be converted into an office, you might need to offer to convert that to an office to potential buyers. Number 9, getting to the end here. Number 9 that's out is the wide open floor plan, right? When you've got the kitchen, living room, dining room, all sharing a very, very open space. That is out. That was really popular 20, 25 years ago. People no longer want that. What they want is they want separate spaces, but not in the way that spaces were separated back in, again, the 60s, 70s, 80s, where it's just all of these tiny little rooms with just tons and tons of walls. The key word is flow. And another key word is airy. These are the types of things. We've already mentioned the airy word earlier in this podcast, but people, they want there to be individual separate spaces, but with great flow, with logical flow that when you're walking through it, it just makes sense. It just feels good. It doesn't feel like there's wasted space. It doesn't feel like, oh, this room is way bigger than it should be. Oh, this room is way smaller than it should be. Oh, this kitchen is way too closed off. I don't know what's happening in other rooms. That's what the flow element. Uh, that's how that works, right? And you know it's one of those things that you not everyone is thinking about, but when you're walking through the house, you are very aware of it. It's just like, wow, it's just this floor plan just really work. I really when you hear people say I really like this floor plan, part of what they're talking about is the flow. And again, the airiness, a lot of that can be just natural light, can be, the way the windows are placed, it can be the height of the ceilings, it can be all sorts of stuff that contribute to that. But people don't want just that big open room that's just like, well, what do I do with this? Right? And again, you might like that, right? I've my main, part of my house is pretty open like that, and I like it just fine. But in general, people are looking for more segregated, no, I shouldn't say segregated, but separated spaces that are each space is kind of dedicated to its own thing. That's really more popular right now. Now, the kitchen being open to the living room is still a pretty popular look. People really don't want their kitchen to feel completely closed off and separated from the rest of the house. So don't hear that I'm saying that the kitchen should be like tucked away somewhere, inaccessible from anything else. Not saying that. But in general, very clearly defined spaces is the way the market has gone. And builders have followed suit by building homes that are that way. And as part of this is homes have gotten bigger in the past 10 to 15 years, new builds have gotten bigger. And so that's given builders the opportunity to, well, we don't need to do just one. Oftentimes there's homes that had that one humongous open floor plan for where the living room, kitchen, dining room were just one shared space. Oftentimes those homes were between 12 and 1,500 square feet. So that was the most practical use of space, right? And then it's just kind of the person living there can just kind of do whatever they want. They've just got this open space to place whatever furniture they have, do whatever they want. Now homes are usually being built closer to 2,000 square feet. So there's a little bit more play when it comes to, okay, we can put the dining room over here. We can put the kitchen here and we can put the living room here and kind of make these separate spaces without them all feeling super small. All right, last but not least, that is out. Man, this podcast has gone longer than I planned. Sorry about that. Large formal dining rooms are out. Okay, and particularly true in smaller homes. You're always going to have large formal dining rooms in bigger homes. Now I'm talking about some of these smaller homes, and here's what's replacing them. And what's in these smaller homes is eat-in kitchens, or breakfast rooms, or simply no obvious place to eat at all. And the reality is that a lot of people 35 and under are not eating at a dining room table. Like that convention is starting to go away. A lot of people don't realize this. That convention is going away. A lot of people now, they'll finish their workday 6:30, get home, get takeout at, maybe on the way home from work, sit on their couch and eat Chinese food while watching a show on Netflix. A lot of people are using their islands, right? That's honestly 90% of the meals that I eat at my kitchen island. I just like it. It's convenient. I like there's a window right there that I can look out. It's comfortable. I'm able to see the kitchen. If my kids or my wife are in there, I can interact with them. I just like it. I barely ever use my dining room table. We only use that when we have huge groups of people. But if you're in a smaller house, are you going to have, sorry, I keep hitting my mic here. Are you going to have huge groups of people if you got a smaller house? Are you going to be entertaining groups like that? Probably not. So who cares? You don't need the large formal dining room, right? Now, if you got a big house, you probably will be entertaining. And so that's why those formal dining rooms aren't going away in those homes. But think about it. A lot of the starter homes that are going to young couples without children, they are smaller, and that's a space that they can do away with. You don't, and even if you start to have kids, oftentimes they're going to be in high chairs for several years, and by that point in time, probably those people that own that home are going to be buying a larger home, and then they can figure out, okay, well, with this kid, maybe it does make sense to have a dining room, or maybe we'll be having, maybe we've made some friends that also have kids and we'd like to have them over, and we need a space where kids can be able to sit. Now the conversation shifts. But this is a big change from 10, 15 years ago. People always wanted dining rooms. I mean, I would say even 3, 4 years ago. This has been a much more recent shift. And again, I think COVID probably plays into this, right? People, were staying at home, having a lot more meals at home than normal, and they just weren't sitting at their dining room all the time. They were working through meals, or watching things through meals, and all sorts of stuff like that. And so I think we've just seen this shift happen in recent years, and house flippers have picked up on it. You're starting to see some of these like mill houses that we have here in Greenville are being rehabbed, and there's no dining room in them, and people don't care. People walk through them, they're just like, this is great, I love it. And I'll point out, are you okay with the lack of a dining room? Oh yeah, we don't really use the dining room. And so, all right, cool. And so that's why we've seen that shift happen in recent years. So lots of interesting trends that have happened in Greenville, outside of Greenville. But I hope that was helpful for you guys, maybe thought-provoking. Let me know if you disagree with any of this. I'm sure that there's some people in the building world or some realtors who are just like, Stan, you missed the boat on that one. I would love to hear that. Let me know. My contact info is in the show notes. Please rate, like, review, all those good things, the show, and we will talk to you guys next time.